Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about why Tesla stock was sort of going down a bit this week and where I expect the stock to go next week and the week after. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so first of all I want to say I'm sorry for this chart looking so messy. The reason why that's the case is because I had to plot out like a billion supports and resistances this week because there were lots of them and they were scattered all over the place and sort of very tightly packed because the stock was constantly sort of unsure of where it was going. So I was trying to figure out where the supports and resistances would be. So I plotted like 15,000 of them. So I'm sorry about that, guys. But basically what happened this week was really less of a sell-off and more of consolidation because basically what happened here is that in the beginning of the week we had a huge move up. From the beginning of the week to the highs, we went up about 20%, like enormous move up. And what's going on right now is that the stock needs some time to cool off. You know, it needs a breather. And how I would sort of compare what's going on with the stock to a scenario in real life is, I know this is an unrealistic scenario, obviously, but now let's say if you literally lived on a roller coaster, okay? I know this is like completely unrealistic, but say you live on a roller coaster. If you lived on that roller coaster, what do you think would happen if the roller coaster would be going up and down too much? Like constantly, just big rise up, and then the coaster would just go straight down, like constantly, for a long time, many hours straight. What would happen eventually is, my bet is you would pass out. You would pass out, and you would stay, probably stay unconscious for a while after that, just because, you know, your body can't handle something going up and down 200 feet for a long period, you know? So that's kind of what happened with Tesla stock here, in a way, where the stock was going too far up, and the stock kind of needed a breather or else it would pass out. So that's what happened this week. We have this sort of breather where the stock hit the high and came down slowly, about 7.5%. Now I know 7.5% is not exactly a small drop, but in reality, this is a relatively slow drop for Tesla. Like usually Tesla, when it has corrections look something more like this, like they're really heavy. But this week, what really happened is it was less of a correction, more of consolidation, because the stock needed a breather. And what further shows this consolidation is that the stock didn't just go straight down like this. The stock kind of got stuck in this pattern the whole week, where it was finding lower highs, as you can see here, because the high on the 11th of January was 881, then the high of the next day was 870, high of the next day was 861, high of the next day was 855. You see where I'm going here. So the stock has had lower highs and higher lows. And the combination of these lower highs and higher lows got the stock inside of this sort of wedge. And usually what happens at the end of these wedges is that the stock stays inside of them, but then when the wedge gets too narrow, the stock either breaks upwards significantly or breaks downwards significantly. So next week we're either going to see something like this or something like this. Major move, up or down. Either next week or the week after. But anyways, pretty soon, I believe, we're going to see massive movement in the stock because we're going to reach the end of this wedge pattern pretty soon, in my opinion. Just because it's closing in, as you can see. We're getting pretty narrow here, so I think within the next 3 trading days of next week, we're going to have a rise, and that's probably way too many. It's probably going to be a day or two, I think, till we have a big rise. Now, the reason for this is because what this sort of consolidation pattern has showed us is that the stock is very comfortable sitting around the 800s. And big institutions like big hedge funds and others, have not been able to get in on Tesla stock. Lots of them have not been able to get on Tesla stock yet. And there's lots of money that they're controlling. And they see that Tesla stock has been a top performer. And I'm betting that they're all starting to come to their senses that, oh shoot, I missed out on Tesla stock. Goddamn, I gotta buy because this is going to be the opportunity of the decade. And this is even further shown by the fact that this week we had several price target upgrades by analysts in big funds. So hedge funds are starting to wake up to the fact that they need to buy Tesla stock, but they're not going to buy a falling knife. Hedge funds don't really do that for the most part because most hedge funds don't have the level of confidence that somebody like Cathie Wood of ARK Invest does, where she will consistently buy the dip if a great stock like Tesla will go down. Most funds cannot really afford to do that because Cathie Wood, for one, is known for being a investor that invests in disruptive companies. So for that reason, investors that invest in her fund, ARK Invest, are, I would say, much more likely to be able to stomach turmoil in the fund than people who are clients of big hedge funds, for the reason that they invest in ARK Invest to get high returns, but they realize that it's high risk, high reward because they're investing in innovation, and innovation always comes with its ups and downs, you know? It's going to be a rocky road when you're doing anything new that nobody has done before. But investors that are investing in hedge funds are usually ultra wealthy people who just want to protect their money. They don't want to see it go to waste, you know? They don't want to see a 5%, 10% drop in a year. They just want to see consistent, reasonably good returns. Reasonably good returns. They're not necessarily looking for 100%, 200% returns. They're looking for 5, 6, 7, 8% returns that are safe. And what this sort of consolidation pattern has showed us is that Tesla has safely found a bottom right here, around 800, because it's pretty comfortably traded in between this sort of wedge in the 800s. So now, hedge funds see this consolidation pattern and think, you know, okay, the stock has settled down a bit. They have their earnings report coming up. It might not be a bad idea to start a small position soon. Not a big one because they don't really start, most hedge funds at least, usually don't, have super large positions that are kind of dominant in their fund. Like they don't have 20% of their fund in one stock just because, they have large investors and those large investors don't want the fund taking large positions in singular stocks. So most likely what's going to happen next week is that you're going to see a lot of funds put about 1 to 2% of their assets into Tesla stock. Not a large position, but 1 to 2%. The thing is that this 1 to 2% is quite significant because if you look at funds, only funds that are benchmarked to the S&P, which means that they are not forced to follow the S&P index rules, but they kind of are looking to track it as closely as possible, just those funds have $8 trillion under management. That means that if 2% of that fund, of all those funds go into Tesla stock, that's $160 billion or $200 billion or so. So I think next week and the week after, we could see a lot of buying coming into Tesla because the earnings report is coming up on the 27th, which is pretty darn close. So for those reasons, I think Tesla stock is going to break out of this wedge pretty soon and rocket to all-time highs and beyond. I honestly think we could go above 1,000 a share if we get enough bullish sentiment into the stock, and if people are expecting a large earnings beat, we could see a rally past 1,000 per share before the earnings report. So anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, I would love if you guys left a like and subscribe. That'd be really, really awesome. And I'm going to catch you guys next time. Peace.